Hello. It's Emma here reading a story, Franklin Blaine's Gun, written by Don Cronk. Franklin Blaine's Gun. After 10 years of living in Sydney, cleaning little old ladies' homes, and listening to one after another tell tales of being mugged outside their homes, or robbed several times, Franklin Blaine had developed an acute sense of paranoia. His sleepless nights were plagued by constant noises throughout the house. Doors creaked indiscriminately. The wind rushed under the house, causing loose tiles to clatter. The floorboards leading to his room popped and groaned as if they were suffering under excessive weight, the weight of someone sneaking in on him. The strange thing, it seemed to Franklin, was the instant there was a noise of any kind, his eyelids flashed open, his hearing became sharp and directed towards the sound, which always stopped the second he awakened. He'd lie awake for an hour or more waiting, but the noises never came. The moment his eyelids grew too heavy to stay open, pop, bang, creak. This went on night after night, always with the same curious result. He wasn't crazy, he knew that. Crazy people were not in tune. He was in tune with everything. He had spent countless hours with the things that go bump in the night. His only wish was that his wife could hear them as well. She lay beside him in a silent dimension, a dimension he wished he could share, even if only for one night. He wanted her to hear the noises as well. She told him that he was hearing things. Of course, he was hearing things. What the bloody hell did she think he had woken her for? Perhaps for some stimulating conversation? Or maybe a midnight dance under the stars? His frustrations grew, and the occasions he woke his wife grew even less. It was time to take matters into his own hands. He wouldn't mind so much if some midnight prowler tried to break in. If only he had some advanced warning. He even smiled at the thought of offering his sleeping wife to a would-be rapist or burglar and letting him have his fancy with her. But then he reflected that she would probably sleep through the ordeal, just as she had every time his mounting desires had come to him in the dark of the night. He would have to do something about the security of his home. At first, the idea of double locks on the windows and doors seemed like a good one. But as time passed, he found windows left open, and once or twice the front door had the keys dangling from its lock on the outside. His security was broken by his wife's indifference. To leave doors and windows open once was enough for a burglar to take his chance and enter. Perhaps what he needed was a watchdog. Franklin signed the check for $500 and gave it to the dog breeder, who assured him that the 8-month-old Alsatian would provide adequate protection for the house and family. Several weeks passed during which Franklin found this questionable. One afternoon he came home, inserted the key into the lock with magician-like precision, and crept down the hallway, avoiding the telltale squeaky floorboards. He passed the bedroom where his wife lay sleeping, after finishing a shift on night duty at the hospital. On the kitchen floor lay the sleeping dog, unaware of Franklin's presence. Franklin picked up a stack of magazines and crept up to the dog, dropping them heavily next to its large black head. The crash roused the dog to its feet, and in the same movement, it relieved its bladder onto the stack of magazines. The bewildered dog soon found its permanent residence out in the backyard. One evening, Franklin decided to test the dog's alertness yet again. He climbed quietly over the wooden fence into the backyard. He slowly crept towards the sleeping dog, who was lying on the back porch. The dog's nose caught his scent, and its fur stood up on the back of its neck. It barked and growled, showing its teeth defensively, keeping Franklin at bay. The outside light flashed on, and his wife's head appeared, cautiously out of the doorway. "Whatever are you doing, Franklin?" she said, glaring at him with those condescending eyes, the ones that always angered him as he knew what he was doing. "Are you teasing that dog again? I swear, one day he's going to bite you, and I can't say you don't deserve it." The dog stopped growling, pleased that it had performed up to a standard. It even started wagging its tail. "That dog sleeps too soundly," Franklin complained. He pointed at the animal who was rolling over in the grass. "I was almost inside the house before Sleeping Beauty there even noticed I was inside the backyard." Franklin's large square chin jutted out, and his false teeth ground in anger. Franklin rushed past the dog and his wife disappearing inside the house. Just before the door slammed, he mumbled, "I'm going to get a proper alarm system put in. Not one that does nothing but eat and sleep." His wife stooped down and rubbed the dog's belly. "Don't worry, fella," she said soothingly. "Franklin's crazy, that's all. He's got it stuck in his mind that things go bump in the night. Maybe an alarm system might just prove to him that there's no one there." She was totally unruffled by situations and events. She took everything in her stride. There were no emergencies in her life, only Franklin's obsession, which she hoped would work itself out before he did something stupid. The next day, Franklin paid particular attention to the dog's activities and was disappointed when the man came to install the burglar alarm. No dog was barking. Next came 2 brickies, the lawn man and a plumber. The dog took little notice of them and even slept through the workmen's noises. Franklin came up onto the roof to inspect the alarm installation. He watched the man wire the alarm and listened as best he could as the man instructed him on the use of that particular system. It was while he was listening that his foot touched the installer's hammer, which balanced precariously on the edge of the roof. Directly below lay the dog, chewing contentedly on a bone. Franklin gave a quick flicking movement with his foot, and the hammer descended, finding the middle of the dog's back as a resting place. The dog jumped, more from shock than pain, and howling and urinating disappeared under the house. After the alarm short-circuited 3 nights in the first week, Franklin decided to turn it off at night. The sound from the alarm was devastating. It woke most of his neighbours. His wife said that if it went off again, she was going to call the alarm company and have them remove it. Franklin lay next to his wife's still body, waiting for the creak, pops, and bangs. Shadows came intermittently throughout the night as his mind wandered, worrying about the disconnected alarm and his unconscious dog. At least the doors and windows were locked. Or were they? After a quick inspection, he finally settled on his bed. Franklin's eyes burned from lack of sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed and rubbed his hands through his thick brown hair. He must do something to get some sleep. Alarms, dogs, deadlocks were not enough. What he needed was something with authority and a sense of finality about it. What he needed was something with a deterring effect, a gun. That was it. He knew just the one for the job. "I'll have a look at that model over there," said Franklin, pointing his crooked finger at a revolver lying on the display counter. He examined the .357 Magnum learnedly, as though a pro. In reality, he had never even fired a handgun, let alone owned one. One of the conditions of the license was that the bearer join a pistol club. Franklin joined a Sydney club where he found, after several lessons, that he was able to score fairly high marks with his lethal protector. His wife, of course, hated the sight of the gun and swore that his preoccupation with burglars would soon lead to his undoing. She said that his problem was all in his mind. Of course, it was in his mind. On his mind, it was bothering him more every day. How she could remain complacently insisting that all was right was beyond his thinking. All was not right. There was a definite problem, and he alone rested in the fact that he had covered the security of his home. He would make her eat her words. He wanted to see if she was as ready to apologize as she was to rebuke. The gun lay in a table drawer next to the bed on Franklin's side. He found himself waking up less frequently during the night. Somehow there was a calm about him. The creaking had almost disappeared. There was the occasional pop and groan, but Franklin had covered every contingency in securing his home from entry, at least while he was home, and most importantly, while he slept. A shadow crossing the room was all that it took. Franklin's hand rose in the dark from the side of his still leg and made its way silently toward the nightstand to his left. His fingers fumbled in the darkness, playing with the knob on the drawer. The knob unscrewed and fell to the floor. His fingers froze as if held in time. The shadow moved closer towards the foot of the bed. His fingers responded with deliberation. They found the screw that held the knob in place and gently opened the drawer. Sliding steadily along the side of the drawer, his fingers finally met with their objective, the gun. They withdrew the cold metal object and pointed it at the shadow. The shadow moved to the right and then froze for a split second. That was the second that the fingers squeezed the trigger. A figure in white stood at the end of the bed. The ceiling and walls were white. Next to his bed on a white table stood a vase with flowers in it. Everything around him was white, save for the flowers. His wife sat in a chair next to his bed, shuffling through a stack of papers. He tried to sit up, but a sudden pain surged from his foot. His head was dizzy and painful as well. Upon feeling his head, he found a plaster on it. He most definitely was in a hospital. But how he came to be there was somewhat of a mystery to him. He decided to play it cool, at least until he had gathered his senses. "Ah, I see we are awake, Franklin," said his wife, handing him a piece of paper with a pen. "Sign this check, will you please?" Franklin reached out for the paper. "How did I get here? And why am I signing a check?" "You shot yourself in the foot, Franklin, and the check is for the vet. You shot the dog as well. He'll be all right. It was just a crease on his head. The vet put some stitches in and said to remove them in 3 days." "What happened to my head then?" said Franklin, toying with the bandage. "Oh, that," said his wife, casting her eyes towards the ceiling, as if recalling the incident in her mind. "That happened, I suppose, when the bullet ricocheted off the dog's head and somehow hit the painting above our bed. You've got a jolly good knock. I had to call an ambulance to take you to the hospital. You've been out cold all day." She studied him for a moment to test his reaction. She wanted to be certain he was ready for the rest of the details. When he had said nothing, she decided that he was ready. "There's something else, Franklin," she said. Franklin didn't want to hear any more. Things had been bad enough. What else could there be? "Something." "What's something?" he groaned. "Remember when I said I called the ambulance? Well, things were happening so fast, what with the dog howling in pain, and there's me trying to get you out to the front porch for the ambulance, and the neighbours came rushing over to see what was happening. I went with you in the ambulance while Noel from next door offered to take the dog to the vet. You know how very forgetful Noel can be at times? Well, he forgot to lock our front door, and after he left, the house was robbed. They took everything of value." "Robbed?" shouted Franklin, whose head began throbbing in response to vascular constriction. "I told you this would happen. Would you listen to me? No, you know so bloody much, you can't even take the effort to lock the door. Now everything is gone thanks to you. I can't believe this is happening." "This is happening," said his wife, "but there's no problem. You see, we have insurance." "What do you mean we have insurance? I told you I'd never sign some stupid policy that leeched us for years. It only makes those pencil-pushing bastards in their air-conditioned offices fat and lazy." Franklin couldn't believe he was having this conversation. After all, he had told her repeatedly that he did not believe in insurance men and their idle promises. To him, they were nothing but social leeches. "I know how you feel about insurance, but I took the added precaution 3 years ago and had a policy taken out to cover the household contents. I've been paying for it out of my own money. I told you I'm against—" $50,000, his wife said casually. 50 what? "Yes, the policy is worth that, and I claimed the full amount. I went to see the insurance company this morning, and they are willing to pay." They say these things happen all of the time and that sometimes a claim can be paid out without them even viewing the police report. But we haven't got that much value in the household goods. How can they?
Franklin, they are willing to pay, but of course I can always call them and tell them to forget the whole thing. Franklin's eyebrows rose in contempt. You'll do no such thing, he said, but if this ever happens again, I'm warning you. No, Franklin, never again. I promise. Franklin lay back on his pillow, comforted but distressed at the fact that he tried his best and ended up in the hospital. But then, $50,000 was not to be sneezed at. With that much money, he probably could have a proper dog this time. No dog, perhaps armed guards patrolling the area. Now that had a comforting feeling about it. Next time he would leave the guns in the hands of the professionals.
Join Don and me at our website www.billabongvalleypublications.com.au. Once there, you will find books you can purchase and then download the audio or PDF version. You can even stop and read one of the 40 videos about Don's female robot companion. Purchase our book, I Bought a Female Robot Companion, and learn what it's like living with a robot as a friend. Bye for now. Emma.